Hi, welcome to my portfolio. I am showing and demonstrating a couple of technological tools that I have used with my students in the past and tools that I think come in handy, especially for those students who have visual impairments. And then later I'll get into a tool that I think is helpful for students with ADD, ADHD, dysgraphia, dyslexia. So the first tool that I want to demonstrate is a plugin that can be downloaded on Google Chrome called the Night Eye. This is a tool that inverts a student's screen. So if you are looking at my screen right now, you see that this is a black background with white text. So typically, a document on every device looks like this: white background with black text. This is normal, this is natural for any device, any MacBook, any software, any website. Now, for someone who is visually impaired, this could be difficult to use and to navigate. So, the implementation of an inverted text could be very, very helpful. So, in order to download this plugin, this tool, you would navigate to Google and you type in Night Eye Dark Mode Google. And the first entry, the first web that comes up, you would click on this and it would take you to the Google plugin navigation screen. Now, as you can see, this says remove from Chrome. I already have it downloaded. So if I didn't have it downloaded, it would say add plugin now on this in this button here. So you would add that plugin, and then what this plugin allows for students to do is click on the plugin and you can filter through. You can keep a normal screen. You can have a filtered screen where the student can navigate with what would be helpful for them to change contrast, change the darkness, everything on their screen, or they can simply invert their screen and flip the screen into dark mode. So this is one form that a student with a visual impairment could use. This is subjective to each student. This may or may not help all students, but this is a way for students to try and put into place differentiation and accessibility resources without adding additional software to their devices. Now, another thing that I'd like to show is without having to do a plugin on their web screen is to navigate, if they're using a Chromebook or a MacBook Air, to navigate to the accessibility screen on their device. And in order to do that, on my Mac, I'm going to hit Command in the spacebar, and it brings up our search engine here. I'm going to write accessibility, and then I'll hit enter. Accessibility launches our accessibility screen, and it provides us with all of these resources that a student can use. And I want to focus on the inverting the accessibility page, and I click on that, and it flips everything to the opposite, to the inverted. So going from a black background to in white text, you flip and everything else is blown out. So this is another tool that a student could use that would be beneficial to them for their visual impairment. Now, one last thing I would like to show if I were to open up a Google Doc. So say a student who has ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia struggles, or even visual impairment struggles to take notes during class, and they do not have someone to take notes for them, and they take in information much easily by just sitting back and listening to the teacher, but they then need to be able to reference the lecture, and it is not feasible to have video recordings of every single lecture. But what a student can do in Google Chrome is there's a plugin called voice recording. So I'm going to go to help, type in speech, and this first option, video typing, comes up. And I'm going to demonstrate what this looks like. A student is able to click on this microphone, and all of a sudden, it starts recording what the teacher is talking about, as you can see on my screen right now. So if a student was taking notes and then lost track and doesn't take great notes, or a student's handwriting is awful, or they struggle with their focus, they struggle with how to act in class with, and they doodle all the time, or that is a coping mechanism, but then they miss out on their main information source from their teacher. This is a very handy way for a student to record notes from the teacher. And what this microphone does is, while there might be noise in the background, it picks up the main voice of the speaker. So that would be the loudest voice in the room, which would be the teacher. So I think this is a very fascinating way that a student can use their resources to help take notes in class when they struggle with writing down maybe their handwriting. They can't read their handwriting after class. Maybe their focus is off. Maybe it's a visual impairment, where then a student can do then speech to text and then text to speech to have the text read back to them. So this is another resource that I think is very fun and a great way to use as a resource for students who have difficulties and need a little extra assistance, and this would still maintain their independence without having a teacher needing to sit by them one-to-one all the time. This gives them a sense of independence and a sense of power to hold their education in their own hands. So that is just one other tool. To recap the tools that I have gone over, there's a dark mode, which is helpful for visual impairment. There is accessibility screen on a device, and then there is a voice recording in Google that can record all of the notes to a student.